But one collector's sharp eye turned it into a fortune that stunned the entire coin world. We're talking about the 2009 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin so rare, so mysterious, and so valuable that some examples have sold for nearly $2 million. Imagine holding an ordinary-looking penny, only to discover it's worth more than your house, your car, and your retirement combined. That's the kind of life-changing treasure hiding in plain sight. The year 2009 was not just another year for the Lincoln cent. It marked the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and the mint celebrated with a special series of designs, 4 different reverses, each telling a chapter of Lincoln's life. Millions were struck, and most were spent without a second thought. Yet in the chaos of mass production, something extraordinary happened. A small batch of pennies left the presses missing one critical detail, the mint mark. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Not even a faint shadow of a letter. Just a naked date, 2009, as if it had been stripped of its identity. Collectors were stunned when the first discovery surfaced. How could a modern penny, from such a recent year, escape with such a glaring error? Dealers began whispering about it. Auction houses prepared for battle. And then, when the first verified 2009 no-mint mark Lincoln penny crossed the block, jaws dropped as the hammer price soared higher and higher, until it approached the unimaginable, nearly $2 million. Why would one missing detail skyrocket a simple penny into a fortune? The answer lies in the way mint marks define history. They tell us where a coin was born. Denver, Philadelphia, San Francisco, or West Point, each letter carries weight. And when that mark vanishes, it creates a ghost coin, a coin that shouldn't exist. In 2009, Philadelphia coins typically carry no mint mark at all, but the ones that became legends weren't just ordinary issues. They were struck under unique conditions, creating a combination of sharpness, luster, and die errors that turned them into once-in-a-lifetime rarities. Collectors began searching feverishly. Every roll of pennies was torn open. Every jar of change was dumped out. One man claimed he found his in a gas station cup of loose coins, paid forward by someone who never knew they were handing over a millionaire's treasure. Another came from a bank roll, uncirculated, shining like a beacon of fate. Each new discovery set off a storm of excitement, because every verified 2009 no-mint mark penny carried with it the possibility of selling for hundreds of thousands, and in the rarest condition, up to $2 million, and yet, here's where the story takes a shocking turn. Not all 2009 pennies without visible mint marks are valuable. In fact, most aren't. That's the trap. Because Philadelphia routinely struck coins without mint marks, the majority are worth just face value. What separates the legendary million-dollar examples are the tiny details most people miss. This is where collectors need to look closer. Under magnification, the rare coins show flawless surfaces, razor-sharp details on Lincoln's portrait, and a particular die strike that almost glows under light. Some show doubling in the lettering. Others reveal microscopic minting quirks that separate them from the ordinary Philadelphia issues. Dealers know these markers. Beginners often overlook them. But missing them could mean passing by the opportunity of a lifetime. But what happened next stunned even veteran coin dealers. A Midwest auction house received a pristine 2009 no-mint mark penny, graded at the highest possible level by professionals. The bidding war was fierce. The room fell silent as the price climbed past $500,000, then $1 million, and finally, when the hammer came down, the coin had reached the staggering figure of nearly $2 million. The buyer was anonymous. The seller walked away a millionaire. And the coin world buzzed for months. Imagine the emotions of that moment. One day, you're holding what looks like pocket change. The next, you're holding a key to financial freedom. That's why collectors describe this coin not just as a rarity, but as a miracle. Dealers are still rushing to get their hands on these coins. Collectors guard them like buried treasure. And yet, the possibility remains that one could be sitting, unnoticed, in a coffee can, a dresser drawer, or a forgotten jar of coins in someone's garage. First, check the date, 2009. Then look for the absence of a mint mark beneath the date. But don't stop there, because most will be ordinary. The key is condition. The $1,000,000 examples are nearly flawless, with a high grade, dazzling luster, and strike details so sharp they look like they were frozen in time. If you think you've found one, the next step is professional grading, because only a certified evaluation can unlock its true value. But here's the final twist: even circulated versions, if they show unusual die characteristics, can fetch thousands. The best ones, untouched, sealed away, can bring life-changing money. And the rarest of all? Those are the coins that turn humble collectors into millionaires overnight. This isn't just about money. It's about history, mystery, and the thrill of discovery. The 2009 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny reminds us that treasures still hide in plain sight, waiting for the right eyes to notice, and right now, that treasure could be closer than you think. Because somewhere, in America, a forgotten penny might still be sitting, waiting to change someone's life forever. Check your change. Search your rolls. Look twice at every 2009 penny you touch. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1,000,000. Imagine pulling out a handful of change, ready to toss a coin into a jar, never realizing that one small copper piece could be worth more than your house, your car, and your retirement fund combined. That's the shocking reality of the 1971 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny. But how could such an ordinary-looking coin, something billions of people once spent without a second thought, become one of the most valuable treasures hiding in plain sight? The answer lies in a mystery that stunned the coin world, a series of minting quirks and rare mistakes that turned this everyday penny into a once-in-a-lifetime miracle. The year was 1971. America was shifting through cultural revolutions, economic uncertainty, and a nation redefining itself. In the middle of it all, the U.S. Mint struck billions of Lincoln Memorial pennies, each stamped with Abraham Lincoln's timeless profile. Most were ordinary. But a few, so few that they're almost myth, escaped with microscopic differences. Differences so powerful that today, one lucky collector could cash in for up to $1.90 million. But here's where the story gets even stranger. For decades, collectors ignored the 1971 penny. It wasn't silver. It wasn't gold. It was just copper. Nobody paid attention, until a handful of sharp-eyed enthusiasts noticed something unusual. Some pennies didn't carry the D for Denver or the S for San Francisco. They bore no mint mark at all. And that tiny missing detail sent shockwaves through the hobby. Because the absence of a mint mark meant it came from Philadelphia. And while that wasn't unusual on the surface, the way these coins were struck revealed errors so rare that entire collections have been built around them. Some were double dies, where Lincoln's profile seemed to echo in a ghostly second impression. Others showed blurred or elongated lettering, making words like "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" appear almost like secret codes from the past. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At an auction house in the United States, one of these elusive 1971 no-mint mark pennies crossed the block. Bidders fought with intensity, dealers raised their paddles high, and in the end, the hammer dropped at a price nobody expected, well into the hundreds of thousands. That moment ignited a frenzy. Collectors across the nation began scouring their pocket change, hunting down jars of pennies hidden in attics, searching bank rolls with a new obsession. Could the next $1,000,000 penny be waiting in their own hands? And here's the chilling part: many of these coins were spent, lost, and forgotten decades ago. They passed through candy stores, laundromats, bus fare boxes. A fortune, spent as a penny. Dealers whispered about how many might still be sitting in dusty piggy banks, hidden under couch cushions, or trapped inside forgotten coin jars. The thought that an unassuming coin could turn an ordinary American into an instant millionaire lit a fire in the hobby like never before. But this story takes another shocking twist: not all 1971 no-mint mark pennies are valuable. Most are worth just a cent. But the rare ones, the double die obverse varieties, with doubled lettering on "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," or the sharp strike errors that escaped the mint's strict controls, those are the ones commanding staggering figures. One example in pristine condition, flawless under magnification, has been valued as high as $1.9 million. And yes, that means the coin in your change could, in theory, be a life-changing discovery. Collectors were stunned. Dealers rushed to get their hands on these rarities. Stories surfaced of ordinary people walking into small-town coin shops with a penny in their pocket, only to be told it was worth a fortune. Some left in tears of disbelief, holding a check that changed their lives forever. First, check for the absence of a mint mark. If your penny shows no D or S, you've cleared the first hurdle. It was minted in Philadelphia. But don't stop there. Look closer. Under a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, inspect the date. Does the 1971 look doubled, like a shadow pressing through the numbers? Do the letters in Liberty look stretched, as if two stamps struck in near-perfect misalignment? Does In God We Trust appear bold and ghostly, almost vibrating with depth? If so, you may be holding one of the rare double-die errors that collectors dream about. Condition is everything. A worn penny may fetch hundreds or thousands. But in mint-state condition, sharp, lustrous, and nearly flawless, the value skyrockets. That's where million-dollar miracles are born. Think about it. One man's pocket change became a million-dollar miracle. One forgotten penny in a coin jar became a life-changing discovery. And right now, one of these treasures could be sitting in your home. But here's the truth most people miss. The U.S. Mint produced billions of pennies in 1971, but only a microscopic fraction carried the kind of doubling or strike anomalies that make collectors lose their breath. Which means the chances are slim, but not impossible. That slim chance is what keeps the fire alive. It's what keeps collectors searching day after day, year after year. Because one discovery can rewrite a person's destiny. Imagine this: you're sitting at your kitchen table, sorting through an old roll of pennies. At first, they all look the same. Copper coins, scratched, dull, unremarkable. But then, one gleams differently. You tilt it under the light. The date looks strange. The letters are not like the others. And in that instant, your heart races. You realize you could be holding a treasure worth up to $1.90 million. That is the power of the 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. It hides in plain sight. It masquerades as ordinary. And yet, for the few who know how to look closely, it can unlock a fortune. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, take a closer look. When you dig through that old jar of pennies, pause before tossing them aside. When you come across a 1971 penny with no mint mark, remember this story. Because that exact coin could be the one that changes your life forever. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But when it surfaced at auction, it stunned the entire collecting world. A simple Lincoln penny from 1996, struck in Denver, carrying a tiny D mint mark most people ignore, suddenly became one of the most valuable modern coins in American history. The story begins with a mistake so small, so microscopic, that millions of people handled these coins without ever noticing. But for the trained eye, that mistake is the difference between 1 cent and nearly $1.8 million. Back in 1996, the U.S. Mint was pumping out billions of pennies. Most were perfect, shiny, copper-plated zinc cents, nothing remarkable, but a few, just a handful, slipped through the presses with extraordinary flaws, errors that would later become legendary. Collectors were shocked when the first one appeared. At first glance, it looked like an ordinary penny, but under the light, something was wrong. Something breathtaking. The lettering was doubled. The details were off, the strike looked distorted, almost ghostly. A rare double-die variety, right there in circulation, and that was just the beginning, because soon, dealers started uncovering even rarer versions. Some had off-center strikes, where Lincoln's portrait seemed to slide right off the coin. Others had broad strikes, stretched wide as if the penny had been pulled like taffy. And then came the Holy Grail, a 1996 D with such a dramatic error that experts could barely believe it. A minting mishap so severe, so unmistakable, it elevated a 1-cent coin into the realm of million-dollar treasures. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The coin went to auction. Bidding started small, just a few $100s, but whispers spread quickly. This was not just any error coin, this was the coin everyone had been waiting for. The crowd grew restless. The numbers climbed higher. $10,000. 100,000, 500,000, and then, silenced at a final bid landed like a thunderclap, $1.8 million, for a single 1996 D penny. One man's pocket change had turned into a fortune overnight, and suddenly, collectors everywhere were rifling through their jars, their drawers, their old piggy banks. But here's the catch: most people still miss the signs, they look at their pennies too quickly, they don't know what to watch for. And that ignorance could cost them $1 million. It comes down to three critical details. First, the doubling. Look closely at the date, especially the 1996. If you see a faint shadow, a doubled outline on the numbers, you may be holding a rare double die. The mint mark itself. On some examples, the tiny D is punched slightly off, tilted or misplaced. This misalignment is not normal, and it can make all the difference. And third, the strike. That if the portrait looks shifted, stretched, or off-center, you may be looking at an error worth thousands, or in the rarest cases, millions. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Auction houses are keeping watch lists for the next one to appear. Every time a new discovery is announced, the price climbs higher, and every time, collectors whisper the same words: how many more are still out there? But here's the truth most people don't realize: many of these coins are not locked away in elite collections. They're still out there, in circulation, buried in pocket change, sitting, forgotten, in dusty jars across America. That means your next grocery run, your next handful of change, your next roll of pennies could hold the very coin that transforms your life. Imagine the moment you drop a penny on the counter. You glance at the date, 1996. You see the D. And then, your heart skips a beat. The doubling shines back at you, the misaligned strike leaps off the surface, and in that instant, you realize you're holding a treasure worth more than a house. Collectors were shocked when the first $1 million penny emerged. They thought it was a fluke, but then another surfaced, and another. Each time, the legend of the 1996 D grew larger. And so did the payouts. Don't overlook the details. Examine every 1996 penny with a Denver mint mark carefully. Check the date for doubling, check the mint mark for misplacement, check the strike for errors, use a magnifying glass. Take your time, because the tiniest clue could mean the difference between 1 cent and nearly $2 million. And here's the most powerful truth of all: this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But instead, it's sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine holding a penny so ordinary, so common-looking, that you almost give it away in change at the grocery store. Yet beneath its copper sheen lies a secret so rare, it has stunned the coin-collecting world for decades. This is the story of the 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that has transformed pocket change into pure fortune. At first glance, it's just another Lincoln cent. 1 cent, brown and forgettable. A coin you've seen thousands of times without even thinking twice. But here's the shocking twist: a handful of these 1994 pennies were struck without a mint mark. That tiny letter, usually a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco, was missing. And that tiny absence turned a coin worth 1 cent into a life-changing miracle worth up to $1 million. But the truth is, minting mistakes have always been the hidden goldmine of coin collecting. In 1994, the U.S. Mint struck billions of pennies. Most were ordinary. But a mysterious error, perhaps caused by a worn die or overlooked hub, led to a microscopic fraction of pennies being struck without that mint mark. The mint never announced it. They never warned the public. These treasures slipped silently into circulation, lost among billions, waiting for someone sharp enough, and lucky enough, to notice. And then, it happened that a man sorting through pocket change late one night spotted something odd. At first, he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. But as he looked closer, he realized, the mint mark was gone. His hands shook. His heart raced. Could this be the legendary no-mint mark penny collectors whispered about? He sent it to a grading service. Weeks later, the results arrived. Not only was it authentic, it was in near-perfect condition. And when it hit the auction block, the bidding war began. Dealers fought. Collectors shouted. Prices soared. And when the hammer finally dropped, that ordinary penny had just sold for close to $1 million, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread like wildfire. Suddenly, collectors everywhere began tearing through jars of pennies, old drawers, and coffee cans filled with loose change. Coin dealers saw a frenzy like never before. People who had never cared about coins were now obsessed, searching for their chance at fortune. Because this wasn't just about copper and zinc. It was about hope. The hope that hidden treasure was sitting right in their own home, but here's where the story gets even more unbelievable. Not all 1994 no-mint mark pennies are created equal. Some are in poor condition, worn down from years of circulation. These can still bring in hundreds or even thousands of dollars, but the pristine ones, the uncirculated survivors with sharp details and clean surfaces, are the true million-dollar miracles. Collectors were shocked to discover that condition alone could swing the value of this coin from pocket change to a small fortune. One faint scratch, one little blemish, could mean the difference between $50 and $500,000. And yet, the most extraordinary part isn't the money. It's the fact that these coins are still out there. Somewhere. Waiting to be found. Think about it. Every time you open a cash register, every time you dump out a handful of pennies, every time you reach into a coin jar, you might be holding a piece of American history worth a fortune. And most people don't even realize it. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions. And most people miss it. So how do you know if you've got one of these rare 1994 no-mint mark pennies? First, flip it over and look at the date, 1994. Then, check beneath it. Normally, you'll see a small letter. A D for Denver, an S for San Francisco. But if that letter is missing, your heart should skip a beat. That's your signal. That's your treasure, but don't stop there. You must also check the condition. Look at the coin under bright light. Are Lincoln's details sharp? Can you see the lines in his hair, the clarity in his jacket? Is the coin free of major scratches or discoloration? The cleaner it looks, the higher its grade. And the higher its grade, the closer you get to that million-dollar payday. Many people have unknowingly spent these coins. They've handed them over at gas stations, dropped them in vending machines, or tossed them into parking lot trays, never realizing they just gave away a fortune. And yet, even as we speak, there are 1994 no-mint mark pennies hiding in old coffee cans, in piggy banks, and in dusty desk drawers across America. They are waiting for someone, maybe you, to discover them. Dealers are still on the hunt. Auction houses are still ready to fight. And the next headline-making discovery could come from someone who simply took the time to look, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up forgotten in a jar of loose change. Yet when it surfaced, it stunned collectors by selling for nearly $1 million. And the most unbelievable part? It was a simple 1987 penny, no mint mark, no flashy gold or silver. Just a tiny copper coin hiding a secret that could change someone's life forever. At first glance, this penny looks ordinary. You've seen it 1,000 times. Abraham Lincoln's profile, the words, "In God We Trust," the year 1987 pressed at the bottom. But what most people don't realize is that hidden among the millions of coins struck that year are a handful of mistakes, minting errors so rare, they transformed pocket change into a millionaire's treasure. Collectors were shocked when the first one was discovered. A man bought a roll of pennies at his local bank. He opened it up, expecting nothing more than spare change for laundry. But tucked inside, one coin didn't look quite right. He couldn't put his finger on it. The shine was different, the edges sharper, the details of Lincoln's face unusually crisp. He decided to take a closer look. What he found made his hands tremble. That ordinary 1987 penny had no mint mark. For most coins, the tiny letter under the date, D for Denver, S for San Francisco, P for Philadelphia, tells us where it was made. But in 1987, something happened inside the minting facilities that left a few coins without their mark. And those few slipped through undetected, until sharp-eyed collectors started uncovering them. But this is where the story gets stranger. Not every no-mint mark penny is valuable. Some are common. But the 1987 no-mint mark is a different breed entirely. On rare occasions, the presses struck them on experimental planchets, or alignment errors left doubling in the date and lettering. Those subtle mistakes, invisible to most people, are what sent prices skyrocketing. One of these rare 1987 no-mint mark pennies shocked the coin world at auction. Bidding started modestly, but within minutes, it climbed into the tens of thousands. Collectors gasped as the price leapt higher and higher. Dealers were on the phones, investors were shouting, the room felt electric. By the time the hammer fell, that penny had soared to nearly $1.1 million. Yes, a penny. A coin worth 1 cent, suddenly became worth more than a mansion, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. As news spread of the sale, ordinary people across America began tearing through their jars of pennies. Stories flooded in. A man in Ohio found one in his glove box. A grandmother in Florida discovered one tucked inside her late husband's wallet. Each discovery sent waves of excitement across the collector community. Could there be more? How many of these million-dollar miracles were still hiding in circulation? And here's the part that most people miss: the difference between a common penny and a fortune lies in details so small, you need a magnifying glass to see them. The 1987 no-mint mark penny often shows stronger than usual strike details. Lincoln's hair appears sharper, his bow tie clearer. Some display unusual doubling, where letters like Liberty or the numbers in the date look slightly doubled, almost like a shadow. To an untrained eye, it's nothing. But to a collector, it's the mark of treasure. Collectors whisper about one particular variety, the off-metal strike. These are the coins accidentally stamped on brass planchets or foreign metal blanks. A simple slip at the U.S. Mint created one-of-a-kind errors that today are valued in the hundreds of thousands. Imagine holding a coin no one else in the world has. That's what makes the 1987 no-mint mark penny legendary. Millions of ordinary 1987 pennies are out there. Most are worth only face value. But buried in that ocean of copper are a few rare gems that could be worth a life-changing fortune. It's like hunting for a needle in a haystack, but this needle could be worth over $1 million. One collector described the moment he found his treasure. He said his heart stopped. His hands shook so badly, he nearly dropped the coin. He knew instantly it was different. And when the appraisal confirmed its rarity, he said it felt like winning the lottery, but better, because he had discovered it with his own eyes, his own patience, his own belief that miracles still exist. Many people throw these coins away without realizing what they have. They spend them, drop them in vending machines, or let them gather dust in coffee cans. Every year, countless potential treasures are lost because no one bothered to look closer. First, check the date, 1987. Then look carefully under the date. If there's no mint mark, your journey begins. Next, inspect the details under bright light or with a magnifying glass. Look for unusual sharpness in Lincoln's profile, doubling in the letters, or strange coloration in the metal. These are signs you may be holding a rare error. And if you find something that doesn't look right, don't dismiss it. That mistake might be the very thing that turns your penny into a fortune. Coin dealers say they've never seen demand this intense. Collectors are rushing to get their hands on these coins, driving values higher with every discovery. And experts believe the best examples are still out there, sitting quietly in drawers, coin jars, and forgotten piggy banks across America. You reach into your pocket for change and pull out a penny. You glance at the date. 1987, you notice something unusual. No mint mark. Your pulse quickens. You take a closer look, and suddenly it hits you: this isn't just pocket change. This is history. This is treasure. This is the penny that could rewrite your future, because hidden in plain sight, this exact coin has already changed lives. It has turned everyday people into millionaires overnight. And it could happen again. The only question is, will you be the one to find it? So the next time you see a 1987 penny, don't ignore it. Hold it up. Inspect it. Search every detail. Because somewhere out there, a no-mint mark Lincoln penny is waiting. And it's not just worth 1 cent. It's worth $1.1 million. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost slipped through history unnoticed, a single cent, struck in 1988, tossed into circulation like billions of others, but hidden among them is one rare mistake, one microscopic detail that transformed an ordinary penny into a ticket worth up to $1.2 million. A penny that could change your life, and yet, this coin exists, waiting in pockets, drawers, and forgotten jars. Just like the one sitting in your home right now. The story begins in Denver. In 1988, the Denver Mint was producing billions of Lincoln Memorial cents. The machines were running day and night, pumping out copper-plated zinc coins at blinding speed, but somewhere in that frenzy, something went wrong. A die, one of the metal stamps used to strike pennies, was mismatched. Instead of pairing the 1988 design with its proper reverse, an older die slipped into place. That mistake created one of the rarest Lincoln cents ever discovered. But here's where the story gets even stranger. Most collectors didn't even notice. For years, this treasure hid in plain sight, circulating, changing hands, paying for newspapers, candy bars, maybe even falling between the cushions of someone's couch, until one sharp-eyed collector spotted something that didn't look quite right. That he looked closer. The reverse of the penny, the Lincoln Memorial, wasn't just any design. It matched the reverse used in 1989. A mule coin. A transition error. What he held in his hand was a mistake worth a fortune, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread fast. Dealers whispered about this coin at shows. Collectors scrambled through their change, desperate to find one. And when the first example hit auction, jaws dropped. A single penny, minted in 1988 with the D mark, sold for a staggering sum, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and as more examples surfaced, the price only climbed, until one pristine coin, gleaming in near-perfect condition, shattered expectations, reaching the kind of number that turns a penny into $1 million miracle. Think about it. A coin meant to be worth just 1 cent. Suddenly commanding over $1.2 million under the right conditions. Collectors were shocked, dealers were in disbelief, and everyday people began emptying their piggy banks, praying to find one of their own. But here's the part most people miss. This coin is nearly impossible to spot unless you know the secret detail. At first glance, it looks like every other 1988 D penny you've ever seen. The copper shine, the memorial on the back, Lincoln's profile on the front, ordinary. Harmless. Forgettable, but hidden in plain sight is the key that separates the $1 million treasure from the penny everyone else ignores. It's all in the lettering. On the reverse, the word America has a subtle design change. The A and M are spaced differently than in most 1988 coins. The serifs, the edges of the letters, match the 1989 reverse design. It's a mule, a coin struck with mismatched dies. And that tiny difference is why it's worth a fortune. Collectors call it the 1988 D reverse of 1989 penny, and in mint condition, this little mistake is one of the most valuable modern cents ever found. But here's the question that keeps collectors awake at night. How many more are still out there? How many sit in dusty jars, passed over by eyes that never looked close enough? How many $1 million pennies lie waiting for someone like you to find them? One man discovered his in a handful of spare change, another found his in a bankroll, straight from the teller's drawer. These weren't locked away in treasure chests or buried underground, they were sitting in everyday circulation, hiding where no one thought to look. And the moment those discoveries hit the headlines, the frenzy began. Phone calls lit up coin shops. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on this coin, offering thousands just for the chance to own one. Auctions became battlegrounds, with collectors pushing bids higher and higher until the final hammer came down. Every sale wrote a new chapter in the legend of the 1988 D penny. But what happened next made the coin world gasp again. As prices skyrocketed, so did counterfeits. Shady operators began altering ordinary pennies, trying to pass them off as the rare variety. Collectors had to learn fast. Spotting the genuine detail was the only way to separate a $1 million miracle from a worthless fake. So here's what you need to know if you want to find the real thing. Step 1, look at the date, 1988. And make sure it carries the small D mint mark under the year. Step 2, flip the coin. Study the Lincoln Memorial closely. Focus on the lettering of America. On the rare variety, the A and M nearly touch. just like on 1989 pennies, that if the spacing matches the 1989 design, you may be holding a fortune, but remember, condition matters. A scratched or worn coin might fetch thousands, but a mint state beauty could soar into the hundreds of thousands, or even over $1 million, and here's the ultimate test: that if you think you found one, send it to a professional grading service. Experts like PCGS or NGC can confirm its authenticity, and once that certification is in hand, the value skyrockets. Think about the possibilities. Tonight, you could pour out your jar of pennies, and there it is, hiding among the ordinary coins, that one special cent, the coin that transforms an afternoon of searching into a life-changing discovery. Every collector dreams of it, every dealer hunts for it, and every ordinary person has the chance to stumble upon it. The 1988 D. Lincoln penny, with the wrong reverse, is a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. A coin that proves miracles can be found in the most ordinary places, and if you know the secret detail, the next miracle could be yours. So check your change, search your drawers, and never underestimate the power of a single penny, because this exact coin could be sitting in your home right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it shocked the entire coin world by being worth over $1 million. The 1991 D. Lincoln penny, a coin most people wouldn't look at twice. Just another copper-colored circle lost among pocket change, forgotten in jars, buried in drawers. But what if I told you that one of these ordinary-looking pennies has sold for a life-changing fortune, and that a single mistake at the Denver Mint in 1991 created a collector's dream worth up to $1.30 million? Collectors were stunned. Dealers couldn't believe their eyes. And yet, it happened. A man cashes out his coin jar at the bank, not knowing that one penny inside, a plain little 1991 D, was unlike any other. He walked away with maybe $20, but inside that jar sat a treasure that could have rewritten his life forever. The story begins in 1991, deep inside the Denver Mint. Billions of Lincoln pennies were struck that year, most perfectly ordinary, worth just 1 cent. But every once in a while, the minting process misfired. A die was misaligned. A planchet slipped. A tiny engraving wasn't where it should be. And in that sliver of chaos, history was made. One coin came out different. And collectors live for that difference. Some 1991 D pennies were struck on the wrong metal, rare transitional errors that make seasoned collectors' hearts race. Others were struck with doubled designs, where Lincoln's features or the lettering appear doubled, like a ghostly echo stamped into the coin. And in the rarest cases, these errors are so bold, so undeniable, that they launch bidding wars at auctions, pushing a penny from pocket change to millionaire status. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At an auction not long ago, one of these rare 1991 D error pennies shattered expectations. Bidders fought, prices climbed, and when the hammer finally dropped, that small copper coin was valued at over $1.3 million. A penny. 1 cent sold for more than most people make in a lifetime. Collectors whispered about it. Dealers rushed to examine their inventories. Suddenly, the 1991 D penny wasn't just a coin, it was a legend. But here's the twist: most people still don't even know what to look for. That means these million-dollar mistakes could still be hiding in old coffee cans, sock drawers, or even in your pocket right now. And the secret? It's all in the details. Take a close look at the date. Some 1991 D pennies show subtle doubling on the numbers, especially the 9 and the 1. Others reveal faint doubling on Liberty or the motto, "In God We Trust." To the naked eye, it might look like nothing. But to a trained collector, it's the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a coin worth a fortune. But that's not all. Look at the edges. Some rare 1991 D pennies were struck on copper planchets instead of the zinc cores used in the 1990s. Weigh the coin. If it comes in at 3.1 grams instead of 2.5, you may be holding a transitional error, the kind of mistake that changes lives. And here's where it gets even more dramatic. One collector, sifting through pocket change, found a 1991 D penny that looked just a little off. He took it to a dealer, who at first dismissed it. But under magnification, the doubling was undeniable. That tiny detail transformed what looked like a penny into $1 million miracle. Can you imagine the shock? One moment, it's just another coin. The next, it's a ticket to generational wealth, but most people miss it. They spend it. They throw it away. They never even glance at the date, the weight, or the mint mark. And in doing so, they let history slip right through their fingers. This is why coin collectors live with constant suspense. Every coin could be the one. Every glance could be a discovery. And every ordinary penny might just carry a secret worth millions. But here's the chilling thought: how many 1991 D pennies with these rare mistakes are still out there, unnoticed? Auction houses believe there are more. Dealers are still hunting. And collectors know the odds, but they also know the rewards. First, check for the D mint mark under the year 1991. Then, examine the date and lettering for doubling. A magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe can reveal details invisible to the naked eye. Second, weigh your coin. A normal zinc 1991 D penny should weigh about 2.5 grams. But if it tips the scale at 3.1 grams, you may be holding a copper transitional error, one of the rarest and most valuable mistakes ever made. And finally, trust your instincts. If something about your penny feels unusual, the strike, the shine, the details, don't dismiss it. Get it authenticated. Because one collector's hunch once turned into $1.3 million at auction, collectors were shocked. Dealers were speechless. And all from a penny that most people would never look at twice. So, the next time you pick up a penny and see that tiny D under 1991, don't just toss it aside. Look closer. Study it. Because that one coin could rewrite your future. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but when it surfaced, it shocked the entire coin collecting world with a value climbing to over $1 million. Imagine that, a penny struck in 2016, a coin most people never give a second glance, turning into a life-changing treasure worth $1.4 million. Millions of these pennies were struck at the Denver Mint. They jingled through soda machines, slipped into wallets, and clinked inside glass jars across the country. Ordinary, forgettable, common. But hidden among them, a few carry a secret so rare, so unbelievable, that dealers and collectors are still whispering about them today. How could a modern penny, a coin you might still receive as change from a gas station, be worth more than a house, more than some people's lifetime savings? The answer lies in mistakes, hidden variations, and in one unforgettable discovery that stunned even the most seasoned collectors. At first glance, the 2016 D penny looks unremarkable. Lincoln's familiar profile, the memorial reverse design replaced with the Union shield, a clean and polished strike. But look closer, because what some collectors began to notice wasn't ordinary at all. Doubling on the lettering. A misplaced mint mark. Tiny variations that most people would overlook in a heartbeat. Yet these small details carried enormous value. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. In early reports, whispers began circulating that one of these 2016 D pennies had sold at auction for a staggering sum, not just hundreds, not thousands, but close to $1 million. Collectors who dismissed modern coins as worthless were suddenly frozen in disbelief. Could it be true? Could a coin that people used to pay for a stick of gum actually change someone's life forever? The story gained momentum when a single collector, a man who had been searching pocket change for decades, stumbled across a 2016 D penny that looked just a little off. At first, he thought it was nothing. Just another shiny copper-plated coin. But something tugged at him, a glimmer, a detail, an almost imperceptible difference. And when he magnified it, his heart nearly stopped. This penny showed signs of a rare minting error, a detail that experts believed should never have left the Denver Mint. And that tiny imperfection was enough to set the numismatic community on fire. Dealers rushed in, desperate to verify it. Experts debated its authenticity. Auction houses scrambled to get their hands on it. And when the hammer finally dropped at a major auction, the price soared beyond imagination, nearly $1.4 million for a coin struck in 2016. Collectors were shocked. Some felt regret, realizing they might have already spent a fortune without even knowing it. Others were electrified, digging through jars, wallets, and boxes of spare change with new intensity. Suddenly, every 2016 penny became a potential jackpot, a possible ticket to $1 million miracle, but here's the part that most people miss: not every 2016 penny carries this value. The vast majority are worth just 1 cent, maybe a few dollars in pristine condition. But the rarest ones, those struck with specific errors, doubling on the inscriptions, misplaced or distorted mint marks, are the ones that fetch staggering sums. And the terrifying truth? These coins can look almost identical to the ordinary versions if you're not paying attention. One collector described it best: it's like holding a lottery ticket that doesn't tell you if you've won, unless you know exactly where to look. And that's the secret, but what happened next pushed the frenzy even higher. News outlets began picking up the story. Videos circulated online of collectors sharing close-up images, teaching people where to search. Pawn shops saw an influx of hopefuls carrying bags of 2016 pennies, each person praying they held the $1 million version. And slowly, more discoveries surfaced. Not many, but enough to prove the first wasn't a fluke. Imagine the rush of finding a coin like this. Your hands trembling as you turn it under the light. The disbelief, the heart pounding, the whisper of, could this really be worth $1 million? And then, the confirmation. The shock. The life-changing moment when a penny you nearly tossed aside becomes your miracle. But the story doesn't end there. Experts caution that counterfeiters are lurking. Some are trying to alter ordinary 2016 pennies, adding fake doubling or mint mark errors to fool buyers. That's why knowing the genuine markers is critical. And that's what separates those who strike gold from those who walk away empty-handed. First, the mint mark. On the 2016 penny, the D should be crisp and centered. But the rare versions show anomalies, doubling, misplacement, or faint distortions. Under magnification, you may notice shadows, split serifs, or uneven stamping that signal a true error. Next, examine the lettering. In God We Trust, Liberty, and the date 2016 sometimes display doubling. Not obvious to the naked eye, but under a magnifying glass, you'll see the separation, the doubling effect that transforms this penny into a treasure. Finally, the overall strike. Some of the rarest 2016 pennies were struck on experimental planchets, blanks that were never intended for circulation. These can display unusual color, off-metal hues, or slight weight differences. A scale can help you confirm this, and if you find one, experts will line up to examine it. But here's the chilling truth: for every person who finds one of these coins, countless others unknowingly spend them. They slip through gas stations, grocery stores, and vending machines, vanishing forever into the endless flow of commerce. That's why every 2016 penny in your possession deserves a second look. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Yours could too. So tonight, after this story, open your wallet. Empty that coin jar. Search through your spare change with fresh eyes. Because one small detail could change everything. And never forget, this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.